So March, where do we actually begin with this? So the start of March, I took Basil to another local show, and I just took him in hand just to get him in a new environment, see different horses, and just to like let him get used to new things. And I think we've established from this that in hand is not our thing. He's a really big horse, and he just dragged me around the arena, not on purpose, but just because I couldn't keep up with him. He's got such a big stride, and he was obviously keen to get going. So in hand's definitely not our thing. But I was really pleased with Basil on the day. He behaved himself, he loaded on and off well. And again, it was just a new environment for him, and he maintained himself really well. So overall, I was really pleased with him, but I think we're going to knock in-hand showing on the head and just going to have to get on with it. We then went back to see Keith, who is the groundwork expert, and this time it was my turn to have a go with Basil. And let's just say I'm definitely not as experienced as Keith.
Okay, so if you just step off, walk away a little bit, because again, that will, if you just start walking.
Oh, what? Just
yeah,
walk around?
because what you've got is where he's very, very genuinely interested in the camera on the side and things like that. I want to give him the opportunity to go, okay, if I have a small job, so here, stop, pause, turn around and show some space. So stand there and send him back a little bit. That's it, and then relax, good. Because you saw when he starts to crowd you a little bit, that's what we want to interrupt. And it's not, I don't ever want you to feel like it's me saying, oh, send him away.
Yeah.
It's actually us saying, you're perfectly okay, stand in your space over there. It's starting to give him some sense of ownership over, okay, I have this space here, I can actually be, there you go, I can be a little bit quiet here.
And if he walks like that, should
Yep.
I turn, like do the footwork
You've
and then
got some
stop him and
options.
then
You
go?
saw there, he only took 2 steps and then he went, oh, maybe I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If he'd walked off properly, then I would probably just walk towards his bum. I turn his body a little bit, because then he's like, that's harder work than just standing still. The less influence I can seemingly have over him, the more he's going to start to learn he's managing himself. Okay, so if you come round this side and we'll do that left hind leg.
Yeah. Is that right? Or should he
Yeah,
front?
so there's multiple versions you can do of this. The one that I would choose with him as a start-off one is, because he can be a little bit sensitive and he's a little bit sort of sensitive in the environment, I want to know what is he going to be like when I put my leg on when I get on.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to stand here, put my hand there without him moving, take a tiny flexion, still not move. Only when I say, oh yes, my leg comes on,
Okay.
then I want him to move. So he was making some quite nice steps there, but I'm really saying to him at this moment, I'm associating this as close as I can to the Ridden work.
Yeah.
What are you going to be like when I hop on? So I want to tell him, how is my leg going to feel when he's in this state of mind? How is my leg going to feel when he's moving in a space that he doesn't necessarily know, and there's cameras around and there's and things changing and people next door and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm getting this is just fulfilling my information that I want, so that I can say to him, oh, actually, hang on a second, prepare yourself so that you're ready to make super good choices. Or worst case, you're ready to realize that you're actually not in the best place to make a decision.
Yeah.
And you can sort of defer to us and say, okay, can you tell me what the next best course of action is? Good. So I would say he's relatively comfortable that side. Again, we're seeing the same thing, the right side of his body more comfortable than the left, but he hasn't felt the need to make any particular decision, right? So now we have choices to make. I like, at this point, to experience what is he going to be like when he moves and there's a challenge. So I'll show you one and then I want you to do it, because I want you to be confident that you've sort of given him enough reason to initiate the movement. Because all I'm looking for is how well does he make these steps? How well does he go through the process of finding that actually he could stand still? So there's a little bit, obviously you've got to get used to this and know sort of how much pressure to apply and where he's going to go. But we're really saying, look, you stood there with no real challenge when I was touching you, so touch is pretty okay now. Much better than when we started, because you were actually quite sensitive. So now I want you to see, how are you in movement when there's a challenge, so that I can put in place. I know, that's my point, right there. So when we had a little distraction outside and me here, he wasn't quite sure what to do. So we had the jump and the spook and the, oh my God, tell me to stand. And I'm like, no, that's not my job. This is what I want. Oh, well, so that was the thing that was over me. I don't know whether I can cope with it, but now I'm quite interested in it. Perfect. That's stage one of him starting to go, okay, there's a healthy level of interest in something. Even if it's a little bit scary, I can have interest in it without feeling like I'm going to die. But I move in a way that brings balance and confidence and comfort to my body. And also this really helps me to improve slowly that left foreleg. Because you saw when we were moving him, he gets a bit resistant to you, pushes on to your aid. All of a sudden he's like, I'm not going to push into that because that's quite scary. Oh look, suddenly you moved better in that left fore than you've moved the whole session. So he's doing it through necessity. Now he has options, right? So already he goes, yeah, actually, moving around, although I felt better, moving around is quite hard work. I'll just choose to drop that neck, right? So you come and do that. Start on his good side. So I'm walking a very fine line. I'm not necessarily trying to move now, but I'm saying, hey, if there's enough of a challenge over your body, if you move, how are you going to move? Good, 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 stop. So he's already tried to put himself in a place where he was like, no, I just want to stand here. So we're watching for that. It's not that we stop because we're like, okay, you've moved enough. I actually want to see the body goes, it slows, it goes through that slowing process. He tries stopping. And if he's comfortable with stopping, stop. Yeah, it's already guesswork, right? This is good.
And although we had a great day out with Keith and really tried to learn more about Basil and how to effectively communicate with him, I wasn't really getting anywhere back at home at the yard. So I felt like I was taking half a step forward and 3 steps back every day, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't enjoying it. I was sort of still scared to get on him, and when I did, he was really distracted. He'd spook at everything. And again, this isn't really the horse that I knew when I first bought him. And again, I know it takes time to know a horse and things like that, but just something wasn't quite right, and it just didn't feel to be the right fit for me at that time. And things sort of came to head. There was a day where I did a bit of groundwork with him and he was so distracted. He wasn't listening at all. He wasn't interested. He didn't want to do it. And he eventually reared up in front of me in the arena. So I just let him go. I thought, right, just go and have a little leg stretch in the arena. And he just went paw in the ground in the arena. And I was a bit concerned that maybe he's a bit colicky or something like that. But actually, I think he was really agitated. So he was paw in the ground. Occasionally he'd roll. Then he went over to the corner, he'd find a little weed in the corner of the arena, and then he was looking over the arena fence at the grass, and I thought, right, okay, so I took him out for some grazing in hand, and everything was fine. I was just about to bring him back, and he spooked, went mad, and nearly lost him down the road. And at this point, I just thought, I'm not getting anywhere here. I'm really not enjoying having a horse at the moment. The actual yard itself is absolutely fantastic. I love the people there. I love the setup of it. He had a wonderful stable and indoor barn, and it was brilliant. But my last hope of getting this horse back on track was to turn him out in a field and give him a good amount of turnout every day and just try and settle his brain, and so that if he's out in the field having his time, that maybe when we come together and want to go for a nice ride, he'll give me a little bit of time a day just to focus his energy on what we're doing. So I had a bit of a breakdown.
So I've just got back from the stables, and to be honest, I'm at breaking point with the whole thing. I don't think it's worth the time, money or emotional energy in that what it's costing for such a little reward. I think in 3 months I've had probably 3 positive rides, and I've spent probably nearly 20 grand on him, getting him out, everything else. Yeah, I've just about had enough. So I don't know where we go from here, really. I think one of our main issues at the moment is that he's not getting turnout, and he is so distracted in the arena. He just wants to eat the grass on the outside of the arena or find a weed in the corner of the arena. So I think we're at the point now where I need to move him to a different yard with turnout, or I am at the point of I'm going to have to sell him. And it's nothing to do with Basil. Like, it's definitely a me issue, but I just can't continue how we are. And I don't cry. I'm not a crier. And this horse has made me into an emotional wreck. So yeah, I don't know what to do from here.
As a result of this, I decided that I had to move Basil because I was at the point where either I sell him or I move him and try and just see if turning him out all day would really calm him down. So I contacted a lady I know at a local yard and see if there's any spaces available there, and she said that there wasn't. She was aware I was on full livery, and I think they were a bit cautious to potentially take him on that provision because it's not something they offer. And I was really sort of a bit devastated at this point, not because I necessarily wanted to move as such, but because I felt if I didn't move Basil and try this, I was really running out of sort of hope with the whole situation. So I went back to her and said, look, will you take him on a DIY basis? She actually agreed and she said, yep, she'll take him. So thankfully we were able to move him to the new location, although for me, not so good, because with running a business and everything else I've got going on, it was really difficult to take the jump into DIY. And I know you DIYers will be thinking, stop flapping, you silly girl, just get on with it. But trying to run a business and a whole things of, you know, everything going on in life, it's a lot then to jump into the fire pit of obviously having to actually look after your horse full time as well. The other yard I was on was full livery, and they cared for Basil really well, and it was fantastic, and I knew he'd be looked after, and if something went on with the business or if I was away with work, I wouldn't have to worry about his needs. But now it was all back on me. But the benefit was that he was going to get turnout all day, every day, and that was my one last hope to try and settle his brain. So moving day came round, we picked him up, he loaded perfectly, was really happy with that. So turned him out and he just trotted off, went and met his new field friend. I let him have a few days to just chill out, have a good turnout, and just sort of let him be a horse. And then for me, there was obviously settling into the new routine. So mucking out, feeding, poo picking, changing the rugs, grooming, riding or exercising. It's a lot to take on, I say, from going from being lucky enough to be on a full livery yard to then going DIY, whilst, I say, trying to run the business is quite a big jump. But I quite enjoyed it the first few days, trying to get back into a routine, and then I got quite savvy with things as to how I could save a bit of time, because time is really important when I'm trying to run the business. So one of them was that I bought 14 feed buckets, which sounds excessive, but actually I was able to prepare the full week's worth of feed in one go, stack them up, put them in a bin, they're ready to go. Every day, all I need to do then was add a little bit of water, give it a mix and put it in the stable or give it to him. So that's a really top tip for if you're short on time and you don't want to make the food up every single day, opening the buckets and scooping the feed in. You can literally just do it once a week, but you do have that initial outlay of all of the buckets that you need. Secondly, I saw somebody else at the new yard bulk batching hay nets, and I thought that's actually a really good idea. I only had 2 hay nets, soon nipped down the shop and got a full week's worth, and now I've got enough and I prepare them again for the whole week ahead. So it just means that in the morning when I'm mucking out, I can just grab a hay net, tie it up, done. And on the weekends when I've got a little bit more time, I can actually spend time and fill in the hay nets for the whole week. So again, another top tip there, but again, initial bit of outlay. Another little time saving tip is we put in hay in the fields at the moment. There's not too much grass out there, so we're putting hay in the fields to supplement them. And what I've bought is these big sort of heavy duty garden waste bags, and I fill them up with hay. Again, so in the week when I need to pop the hay in the field, I can just grab a bag, stick it in the hay box, job done. I haven't got to faff around getting covered in hay and all of that. It's all ready to go for me in the week. And finally, buying a big wheelbarrow. So I'm faffing around with these little wheelbarrows, doing multiple trips to and from the muck heap. One big wheelbarrow, get the job done and get it signed off in one trip. So loads of little things like that I'm learning just to try and save time. Again, feed buckets, I stack them all up when they're empty and I wash them all in one go. Because again, it's just saving time, saving trips to and from the tap and things like that. It sounds silly, but actually, when you're really short on time, you have to get super savvy with things like that. Then it was time for our first ride. And again, I was a bit anxious because I wasn't sure how he was going to respond. Again, previously he'd been really spooky and very distracted and things like that. So I wasn't really sure what Basil I was going to get. Stables all around it. So it's a very different environment to where he has been previously with me. And I had a really, really good ride. Really positive, no spooking. He felt really calm and chilled inside, and it was a completely different horse. So again, it's helping to build a bit more confidence in me, in him. And yeah, I was really pleased with that. Throughout the rest of the month, again, we had more positive rides, went hacking with a friend and kept schooling and different things like that. And actually, again, every time he was building my confidence because he was just a lot more chilled out. So it looked like the turnout was working, fingers crossed. I'm really grateful to Rachel, the new yard owner, for taking Basil in such short notice because I really feel like I'm starting to get my horse back. Lowe's planned in for April, so we're taking him to Woburn Forest on a nice hack out there. We've got another lesson booked in with Matt Cox because we feel like we're ready again now to take on more lessons. And we've also got a simulation of a hacking cross-country course where we're going to be going in hand and taking him through the water and down steps and things like that. So there's loads going on for April, and just fingers crossed that he stays nice and chilled as he is, and we keep building that strong bond and trust together. Finally, costings for March. To be honest, at this point, I'm actually trying not to count anymore. But for the purpose of the video, this month's total is... So again, still spent quite a lot, to be fair. Going forward, obviously, livery costs are going to come down, but obviously my time and effort is going to be going up. But it's a horse. It's going to cost a lot of money either way, and I'm still buying new bits and bobs all the time. So what can you do?